Welcome to the only console crosshair guide you'll ever need. If you're new here, my name's Pest. I'm number 8th Radiant on the console leaderboard, 12-time Radiant on PC, and Valorant coach for over 3 years now. By the end of this video, you'll have a full understanding on Valorant Crosshairs and have the confidence to carry like a Radiant. Let's get into it. I'll start by saying Crosshair is not the reason your aim looks like this. At the end of the day, consistent aim takes training and time. However, you can be more confident with certain crosshairs over others, thus making you play better with them. This is similar to the idea of that one skin you've wanted for months that just won't come into your shop. When you see that gun in game, you'll do whatever it takes to get it because you know once you get your hands on it, it feels like you can't miss. When you believe you shoot straighter with a certain skin, you will shoot straighter. Doesn't mean you're gonna ace every round, but your mental and confidence plays a huge role in how you play. Crosshairs are a great way to reset when you're not playing well and build some fake confidence going into the next round. Here's some of my favorites from over the years. The first and most iconic crosshair in the game is this, which Ten's made popular during his rise to becoming the face of PC Valorant. If you're new to Valorant, this is a great place to start and adjust from there. Generally, crosshairs do tend to be smaller in this game to allow for precise aim at longer ranges, where otherwise the crosshair would completely cover the head. To make this crosshair, turn outlines off, center dot off, inner lines to 4-4-2-2, with movement error and firing error off, as well as outer lines off. If you're not a fan of lining up the head between your crosshair, you can try a dot. With the circle or dot crosshairs, you wait until the head is fully covered by the crosshair and then shoot. Whereas traditional crosshairs, you place the head in the middle and then shoot. At the end of the day, you put your crosshair on the head, but a lot of times people's brains tend to gravitate towards one naturally. We'll go over some other dot alternatives in a second as well. To make the dot crosshair, turn outlines on and set it to 1. Turn inner dot on and set it to either 2 or 3. Then turn inner and outer lines off and you should be good. The next crosshair we're going to talk about is the white cross, made popular by the 2021 Champions winner CNED. This has been one of my absolute go-tos over the years and have literal thousands of hours with this crosshair. I'm also a big fan of white crosshairs and have used them almost exclusively for my entire 5,000 plus hours on the game. It's widely agreed upon that white and cyan are the easiest colors to see against all maps, especially with yellow outlines, which I cover in my settings guide if you want to check that out. So I highly recommend trying cyan or white if you haven't found a crosshair color you like yet. The only map I've had issues with this on are Icebox because there are quite a lot of blues and whites on that map, as well as a cyan crosshair can seem to disappear into the sky on some maps like Breeze. But compared to other colors in general, these do stand out the most. To make this crosshair, turn everything off except inner lines and put those to 4-4-2-0 with movement error and firing error off. This next crosshair has many different variations, all of which come down to preference. The circle crosshair, not to be confused with a dot crosshair, can be a big circle, small circle, filled in circle, half filled in circle, square, and more. I tend to really like these as it combines the two ideas of shooting when the head's in the middle of your crosshair with shooting when the head fills up the entire crosshair, because it's a dot with an open center, so you get the best of both worlds. The only downside of this is they can be harder to see, especially out of your peripherals, which can be a major downside since you shouldn't ever be directly staring at your crosshair in game. I talk about this more in my aim guide if you want to check that out as well. I'll put them down in the description. To make this crosshair, turn everything off except inner lines. You can try 1-1-2-1 for a small circle, 1-1-4-2 for a medium circle, and 1-1-6-3 for a big circle. To fill in the circle, use a center dot of 2, 4, or 6 depending on which size you go with. Another cool thing you can do is turn center dot opacity down to around 40%, which makes it see-through and gives a unique effect. Or if you're weird and like square crosshairs, you can try 1-1-4-1 or 1-1-6-2. Don't be weird. The last crosshair we're going to talk about is one I created years ago because I always wanted a 2.5 offset and felt like 2 was too small and 3 was too big. So I created this, which gives a blurred effect, which when its actual size kind of looks like 4-4-2, 2.5. In my opinion, this or the Tens crosshair we talked about earlier are best for beginners, as they're simple and not distracting while being easy to see out of your peripherals still. Before we get into some of the crazy crosshairs, to customize any of these, you can play around with the settings yourself, but as a general rule of thumb, I wouldn't go above a 4 center dot, 6 length, 2 thickness, or 3 offset. And as long as you can clearly see your crosshair out of your peripherals, you should be good. Some honorable mentions for these are the small cross with inner lines 3-3-1-0, the tick tic-tac-toe board with inner lines 1-1-10-1, the TIE Fighter with inner lines 1-0-5-4 and a center dot of 3, or the wide default with inner lines 4-3-2-2. At the end of the day, as long as your crosshair is usable, it is personal preference. Color can have some advantages, as I mentioned earlier, but everyone's different, so play around with it. Lastly, let's get into some of the meme crosshairs that are sure to get some reactions out of your teammates in ranked. The first and most important to cover is the Coochie crosshair. One of the all-time greats from PC, I had to put you guys on this one. Starting from top to bottom, crosshair color is pink, outlines on 50% opacity with a 1 thickness. Center dot on 1 thickness as well, inner lines on 3730, movement error off, and firing error at 0.1. If you didn't know, you can hold X to enter precision mode, which allows you to choose decimal values of pretty much any setting. Lastly, our outer lines are 2090 with movement error off and firing error set to 0.1 as well. The best part about the Coochie crosshair is the more you shoot, the more it's The next iconic PC crosshair are the Nurge glasses. This is by far one of the funniest crosshairs I've ever flipped to a teammate and seen while spectating. Crosshair color is going to be white, outlines at 100% with a 6 thickness, center dot on 1 with 100% opacity as well, inner lines at 70% opacity, 20, 0, 10, 11, with movement and firing error turned off. Outer lines on at 100% opacity, 3, 0, 1, 13, movement error off, and firing error on at 0.3. If your preview doesn't look right, don't worry. Previews are a little bit wonky on console, so I'd recommend doing this in the range so you can go in and out of your settings and check in-game what it looks like. The last crosshair we'll go into before some honorable mentions is the chicken crosshair. Crosshair color is yellow, outlines at 70% opacity and a 4 thickness, center dot on a 6 thickness with a 0% opacity, inner lines at a 30% opacity at 10, 0, 10, 13, with movement error and firing error off. Outer lines at 100% opacity and 0260 with movement error off and firing error on 0.3. Another fun thing you can do is mix and match any of these crosshairs together with the base and ADS crosshairs, like I have here with the Flappy Bird and the chicken crosshair. Speaking of which, here's some honorable mentions. If you want to copy them, I'll put the settings on screen now. These are some of my favorites I've carried over from PC, but you can also make some ridiculously large crosshairs that can be fun to play around with, as well as try no crosshair and really put your centering to the test. If you're new to Valorant or just feel like you need an extra little push to reach that next rank, make sure to check out Medify, where you can find my one-on-one coaching as well as my rank up roll call group, where I post exclusive coaching content and more. I also stream 7 days a week on Twitch. I'd love to see you stop by, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe so I can continue making content like this in the future.